Today, I want to talk about NFT profile pictures, what they are, how people use them, and why people are spending so much money on them. Also, I'm going to cover stoner cats and how they cost people over $800,000 in Ethereum without those people even getting anything in return, including an NFT. So let's just jump right into it. What are NFT profile pictures? So at their core, it's a fairly simple concept. You buy an NFT or a picture because you own that address, you own the rights to that picture, then you use that picture as your profile picture. There's a lot more going on behind the scenes, but that's sort of the core of it. Now, the biggest NFT profile picture on the market right now, they're called CryptoPunks. The way these work is there were only 10,000 of these CryptoPunks minted. They were given out for free, and people basically just played around with them. Originally, they weren't really selling for that much. But in the last couple months, their price has been running up. And some notable names have paid upper five figures for these. Who are we talking about? Well, FaZe Banks has paid for this CryptoPunk, Nadeshot paid for this CryptoPunk, and Jay-Z himself paid for this one. So obviously there are some big names in CryptoPunks, and the reason that this is so interesting is because there's only 10,000 of them. So if you take every rich person in the world, put them all in a room, there's only 10,000 of these CryptoPunks that they can own. These are individual images, and basically putting it on your profile picture is a bit of a flex. It shows what you have. It shows what you sort of make, I guess. Shows your net worth, and it's a way to show off, and it's sort of a cool way to integrate it into your profile pictures. So that would be CryptoPunks, something released for free that is now trading at insane valuations. So if you go here, you can see this CryptoPunk sold for 23 Ethereum. So just to give you an idea of how much this is, Ethereum valuation right now, let's check out where we're standing. The Ethereum price is a massive $2,315. So just to give you an idea then, 2,315 times, I think it was 23 we said, right? 23, yep. That's a $53,000 NFT, and you can see some are trading for 38, 27, 44. There are some insane sales on here. And overall, in the last 24 hours, based on this volume chart, over 5,000 Ethereum worth of CryptoPunks have gone back and forth. So that's about $10 million that has been traded just in CryptoPunks. Stoner cats are not too far behind. These are around at $5 million. You've got the Bored Ape Yacht Club sitting again around $5 million. And then you've got a bunch of other players in this, the Bored Ape Kennel Club, and a bunch of other NFT sort of profile pictures here. So at their core, basically all these things are is profile pictures that you own. They're artwork that you own, and you can show off these art pieces in your profile pictures or pretty much anywhere, right? The main use case for a lot of these right now is just profile pictures. But if you look at something like the Bored Ape Yacht Club, or let's just go to some other ones, if you look at something like, let me just find one that's cool. So like Wicked Craniums, that's another big one. If you know any of these NFTs, the way it works is you can go on Discord, and through their Discord, you can basically get sort of access to different rooms and places and things like that just by owning one. So this is like a barrier to entry. Owning one of these things does not only give you bragging rights, it gives you access to certain communities. And there's a lot of cool things being given out. Some of these NFTs are giving out free gear, free merch. Some are dropping other NFTs. And a lot of them are even integrating themselves into games like the Sandbox. So for those of you who don't know, I've covered the Sandbox before, but it's basically an online sort of NFT-driven gaming universe. And what's happening is a lot of these NFTs are integrating into it. So if you own something like a Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT or a CryptoPunk, it's going to be able to appear in the Sandbox. And by owning that CryptoPunk, the Sandbox iteration of it is just going to drop it into your address. Now, I don't know the details behind this, and none of these like mentioned are actually real things that are going to happen, but I know there's some NFT profile pictures that are integrating with games. So Sandbox would be another one player, Decentraland would be another, and there's a ton of other ones that are being done. In addition to that, there's some NFTs that are doing something more than profile pictures. So something like CyberKongs right here is actually creating a game based around the NFTs. So the way an NFT works, or the way most of these NFT work, is they're randomly generated. I don't know if that's the case for CryptoPunks. You can actually, I'm going to click in and just see. So this is how you'd see if something is randomly generated. This is the easiest way to tell, right? You can go here. You can go into properties, and you can see just the different properties behind this CryptoPunk. So you can see this one has a goatee. Only 3% of CryptoPunks have that. This one has messy hair, which 5% have, a pipe, which only 3% have, and 60% of CryptoPunks are male. Now, if we actually jump back, you're going to see that the market has gotten quite a bit more advanced. So let's go to something a little bit newer. So let's go to Hall of Fame Goat Lodge. This is one that I actually own because the Ethereum price on these things is low, and I figured I'd just get in because we'll get into later why I jumped into this or why I like this one. It's not investing advice, but hopefully you can learn from this and sort of figure out what's going on with this whole NFT thing. So if we go to this one, let's just click into a random one here. And you can see with this NFT, you go to the properties, and you can see it has just a few more traits, right? 6 traits versus 4 on CryptoPunks. Now, obviously, the traits don't really dictate how much they're worth, but it does dictate what the character looks like. So if you look at all of these NFTs here, all of these images, you're going to notice sort of the same base goat. You know, it's got horns, it's got its face, sort of a generic body, and a background. Then what happens is an algorithm is used to randomly select things like the skin color, if there's any hats or hair, how the ears are going to be, or actually not how the ears, how the teeth are going to be looking, and their outfit, along with a few other things like eye patches, earrings, and everything like that. But everything's basically randomly done. So there's all these traits that are given to every NFT, and then a random algorithm will just dictate which one you get. So with this one, you can see 10,000 items were minted, so the run's been done. There's only 10,000 out there, and there's 2.2 thousand owners. Now, the way you want to look at this is when you get into an NFT, you want to look at a few things. You want to look at the volume because this is going to tell you how easy it is to buy or sell an NFT. This is the same way it works with stock or anything like that, but generally people don't worry about it because stock has a fairly high volume. With an NFT, for me at least, I like to look at the volume of people that are trading it. The more people that are trading it and sort of the trajectory of those trades will dictate sort of whether or not you think this NFT could become more valuable. Now, the first thing to look at is whether or not you actually do like the way these NFTs look, because in the end, you're really just buying artwork. You're not doing anything other than that. You're supporting an artist. This is randomly generated art, but someone still had to design the eyes, the hat, everything like that. Make sure they could randomly be generated and put together to look like a sort of nice little thing. You'll see there's a lot of failed projects that fail because people just haven't really put enough effort into it. Something like this, you can see there's quite a bit of effort going into it because everything sort of fits together. Something like this, right? This headband with the horns on top of it. That's actually a little bit hard to do because you've got to make sure that there's no overlap between them. And you can go through other NFTs that have failed and see where basically these horns would be sticking out or something wouldn't be aligning properly. So let's go back to another one, right? Because I don't want to just use this one because, again, it's one that I own. I pick it because I knew that I could talk about it a little bit more in depth. But let's pick a different one. Let's pick something like a Bored Ape Yacht Club. So these are actually some fairly valuable NFTs. You can see the floor price, the minimum price you've got to pay for this is 6 Ethereum, which is about $12,000. Volume traded, that's a huge volume, 41,000. 10,000 items total, 4.9 thousand owners. Now, the reason that owners is important is because this tells you how many people own these NFTs. The more people that own them, the better it is because it's less likely for one person to be able to sort of dump all of them and just destroy the market. For instance, if one person owned 1,000 of these, if they put all 1,000 for sale all at once, they could literally destroy the market. Or if they decided to do something like, let's say, just pull a bunch of money out, let's say even 500, they could destroy the market. And you don't know this person's financial situation. Someone that put $1,000 in, or someone that put 1,000, it would be what, 6,000 Ethereum minimum into something like this, which is literally millions of dollars. They might not be the sanest person. They're either super rich or they're super crazy. Let's just leave it at that. And, you know, do you really want to trust that they're rich and not crazy? Because if you don't trust it, you could end up with something bad happening. They could just end up dumping them all, and then you're stuck with a market that basically crashes on you. So the more owners, the less likely it is that any one owner owns a ton of these. For instance, with 4.9 thousand owners, I can almost guarantee, assuming everybody has individual wallets and some people don't, there's a lot of tricks going on, but 4.9 thousand individual wallets own these, which means there's a very low likelihood that any one person could influence the market. Now, one thing that some people do is, let's say you wanted to buy a ton of these and you don't want people to know you're doing it, you could set up multiple wallets and buy from them. That's not really that hard to do, but a lot of people don't bother doing it. And if you did, that's seen as sort of a lot of people would really frown on that. And if you're doing something like that, you're probably smart enough not to dump the price, because you know that you'll make more money just by holding on to these things and making sure that the value keeps going up. Anyways, let's keep going with this. So you can sort of see where I'm going with this. I look at the volume, I look at how many people own it, and then you look at just how many have sold. So let's take one that hasn't sold. Actually, all these are going to have sold because they're so high up on this list. But let's see, Crypto Voxels. Let's see. This is actually a big one. This one was actually promoted by, well, not promoted. FaZe Banks had one, and it sort of shot the price up for a bit. Right now, the price sort of dropped down a little bit, it looks like. You can actually check, right? Let's go and see floor play, or it's not what we want to do, not floor price. Let's go ahead and do volume traded right here. If we go to volume traded, you can see this little like jump right here. I'm sure one of these bumps is from FaZe Banks or whatever, but you can see the average price going like this, and there's some crazy sales that go on even with something like this. And a floor price of 0.18, I know I'm acting like that's nothing, but again, let's just go back here. Let's do 0.18. That's still $416. That's outside of what I'd want to spend, at least. But they do look pretty cool. Let's admit that. And you can even sort by price high to low. Little pause here. Look at that. You got someone trying to sell it for $31,000. That's a little crazy, but these are some pretty cool looking ducks. Interesting. But yeah, you can basically see where all of this is going, right? People create random things, and these might not even be random. These, I'm not 100% sure if these are randomly generated or not. Sometimes they'll say this. No, these are handcrafted. So these were made by someone. They weren't randomly generated. When they're randomly generated, the way it works is you go to a website and you can just grab them and they'll be randomly generated on that website. So here's one that sorry about that. Here's one I do know of. Actually, let me go here. So this is one I was looking at getting. I haven't bought this yet, but you'll see how this one works. So if you go over here, click into Mad Cat Militia, or actually no, I think I did buy one of these. Yeah, I'm lost. You can see there's only 7.7 thousand items, and here you see they can say you can mint one yourself. So you've got to look into that, because if they're still minting them, that is going to hold the price down, because it means that there is a sort of maximum that a lot of people would be willing to pay. For this one, the floor price is 0.08, so you can go ahead and buy one for 0.08 Ethereum. If you're willing to pay more than 0.08, you're paying for it because one of these cats has something that you like. With these, there's actually supposed to be a game that's integrated into them, so they're not just profile pictures. So something like this one is worth a little bit more because it has a higher ranking. And by a little bit more, I mean 100 Ethereum more. I don't actually know if it's worth that, but yeah, you can see the value does like fly up and down based on rankings, based on how things look, based on whether people think it's cool, and based on that NFT's individual history. For example, something like this is probably worth more just because FaZe Banks owned it. Same with this one. And definitely the same with this one, because anything owned by someone famous is worth a little bit more because that adds to the story of it. So in addition to that, you've got other things like this. This is called rarity.tools. This shows you different volumes by collection. So you can see here, I got that wrong with CryptoPunks. It's 5,800 ETH or Ethereum or ETH. I don't know how people say that, for a 7-day volume. So I did get that wrong. That's a 7-day volume, not a 1-day volume. I apologize for that. You can also see here that they're telling you about upcoming ones, upcoming NFT sales. So you can see this one's going to cost 0.04 Ethereum to list. This one's completely free, so this is more in the spirit of CryptoPunks. This one's 0.025. You can see there are a ton of these coming out, and not all of them are going to succeed. You've got to know what's going on, and you've got to know which ones are actually worth buying, because some of these aren't worth anything, and some of these could be worth a ton of money. You can literally see that again by going to this. There's a ton of Ethereum, or there's a ton of NFTs listed here, but not all of them are worth something. The reason that some of these are worth more than others, it's sort of hard to really put your finger on, because it has to do with a lot of things. It has to do with interest from high value buyers. It has to do with celebrities that are interested in them. It has to do with all different things. So everything's got to come together, which is why a lot of this is just gambling. If you buy something and you hope it goes up, you're sort of gambling on it unless you have some sort of insider knowledge or some sort of eye for art that can really tell you if something's worth more. For instance, I don't know, and I couldn't tell you why something like this, I'm going back to this one because I bought one, I like them. Something like this is worth less, and a lot less, than something like this. I know that these were the first and there is some value behind that, but is it really that much of value? I don't know. It's one of those things. It's just crazy. It's very hard to understand it. Honestly, you've just got to go with your gut, buy what you like, and just have it for fun. Don't really be investing in this. That's my opinion. Not investing advice or anything like this, but in my opinion, you shouldn't be investing in anything like this. It's just something that's fun to do. Now, let's get into stoner cats, because this is an interesting case study and an interesting sort of lesson for a lot of people. You can see that these were released. There's a fuller price of 0.53. And if you go to the highest price, there's some of these that are asking for. I don't even know. Look at these numbers. This is an astronomical amount of money. These people are actually asking for somewhat realistic amounts, I'd guess. But you can see people are selling these for all sorts of crazy amounts. I know a lot of people are going for this one. This lady. So here's the reason that these were sort of so coveted. There was a lot of hype going into it, obviously. People were interested in it because what it was is it was an NFT sale to fund a mini pilot and all future content with a show that's centered around 5 house cats who mysteriously become sentient. So this is basically a Kickstarter, if you will, for a show or mini pilot. What this Kickfunder is basically doing is they're selling artwork to fund the Kickstarter. This artwork's an NFT. One of the cool things about this NFT is that you can guarantee that these two things are linked because you can see who minted this NFT. So let's say I saw this, which is worth billions of dollars, apparently, or that's what they're asking for it. I see something like this, which is asking for, I don't even know how big that number is, but it is a crazy big number. Someone's asking for this much. I decide to take a picture, which you could do. You could copy this video, take a picture of it, and mint it myself. I would have this image, but you would know that it actually wasn't minted by this address. So you know that this image was a fraud. You know it was fraudulent. And it's the same as like, the Mona Lisa. The real Mona Lisa is worth a lot more money because of where it comes from, the history behind it, who's owned it, the story, everything like that. If I go to, Walmart and get a poster of the Mona Lisa, it doesn't mean that I've got something worth billions of dollars. I've got something worth about, $690 or whatever you want it to be, but it's not worth that much. The idea behind the NFTs is much the same. This can be linked back directly to the artist, so you know that artwork is actually, linked to them. Now, the overall question is whether this is just a fad, how long it's going to last, and everything like that. Something like baseball cards, comic books, Pokemon cards, all of that does ebb and flow in value, but there is usually some value there just because it links back to your past, it gives you good memories, it's nostalgic, and it links back to the original artist. Something like this could very well be the same. It's a lot harder to forge. In fact, you can't really forge this because it's on the blockchain and everything like that. The only difference here is my viewing experience for this NFT would be exactly the same as the viewing experience of 0E91CE. That's just an address, but it'd be exactly the same as their viewing experience. The only difference is if I told you I owned it, I couldn't prove it, whereas they could. So that's where the value behind these NFTs come, and how stoner cats cost people over $800,000 is the Ethereum network works by basically charging you anytime you do something. If you're using Ethereum and you have to fart, you're going to pay $1.50 to make that happen. So what happened is people are putting in transactions to mint these NFTs. That would be what I was talking about earlier, where you buy something that basically gives you a random shot at getting a random NFT. And if you get a good one, it's worth more money. And if you get a bad one, it's worth less money. Well, that would be minting, right? Everybody paid to mint it, and so many people were trying to mint it that the network fees went up. People, knowing the value of some of these NFTs, decided that they were willing to pay whatever it took to get one, and they dumped a ton of money into it. Unfortunately, some people, by the time that their transaction got to the minting sort of address, all the NFTs were gone. So that transaction got there. They said, sorry, we can't do it for you. But the transaction fee to actually send that transaction was still there. So for instance, let's say bank fees or wire fees, right? You pay $12 or something like that to send, $4,000 from your bank account to your other bank account. In the time it takes you to send that $4,000, let's say one of the banks or the bank that you're sending it to shuts down. The wire gets there. The bank says, sorry, we're shut down. We're actually not taking money anymore because we're bankrupt. And the money goes back. You just lost $12 sending that wire transaction. Now, if at any time you want to send a wire transaction, it's valued against however other many people are sending a wire transaction. If there's 1 million people sending a wire, everybody's paying $12. Maybe you pay $12.01 to get in first. It's the same with these NFTs and with basically Ethereum. If you want to get your transaction read first, if you want to make the transaction faster, you've got to pay more. So people knowing that these NFTs were worth so much were willing to pay whatever it took. And because of that, people ended up spending $800,000 and basically getting nothing in return because they made transactions. Let's say they bid $100 to send the transaction. 10,400 people that bid $101, their $100 just went up in smoke because when their transaction got there, the person or the address that was sending back these NFTs said, sorry, no more to send back. So they got the money that they sent to that address back, but they did not get the transaction fee back because there was still the process of that transaction going out and coming back. And that's how $800,000 was lost on something called Stoner Cats. Anyways, that's NFT profile pictures and my sort of brief foray into them and my understanding of them. There is a lot more going on behind the scenes, and different projects have different things going on. So one that I don't actually have any, I'm looking at it. I just don't actually have the cash, unfortunately, or the Ethereum for it. I do have the cash. I just don't have the Ethereum, and I've hit the limit for how much I'm willing to spend on this stuff. But one of them would be the Alien Boat. Boy, they've got a lot of cool integrations going on. They're dropping random NFTs to owners and a lot of cool things going on behind this. Now, the actual look of them, I'm not 100% sure that I'm sold on it, but seeing the community very vibrant, seeing that they're doing drops and they're creating all these other assets for these NFTs, it's something that I really thought would be cool to get involved in. It's just the price of them was a little too high for what I had left in my wallet. Anyways, that's how it works. But there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. There's games involved. There's different things. Every different NFT collection does different things and works in different ways. So yeah, hopefully that made sense to you and hopefully it helped you understand some of the hype going on around it. I myself can't even understand why some of this stuff is worth tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars and other stuff is worth $10. It doesn't make sense to me. I've looked at some stuff and said, this is a killer, and then seen it go to zero. I've looked at other stuff and said, this is complete BS, and seen it go to, 100 Ethereum. So yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. None of this was investing advice, but hopefully you did learn something from it about NFTs, the crypto space, Ethereum, and how all of that works. Now, I know this wasn't the usual video that you expect to see from my channel, but if you go back in history, you'll see I do occasional cryptocurrency videos, and for the people that do like that sort of thing, they're somewhat well received. So for those of you who've stuck around this long, I do appreciate the fact that you're watching. I can't tell you I'm going to be doing a ton of cryptocurrency stuff, but you never know. And if you hit the subscribe button, it's completely free, and the algorithm's only going to suggest the videos that it thinks you are interested in. So you've made it 23 minutes. Why not hit subscribe and check out the next video on cryptocurrency that comes out on this channel. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, peace.